Okay. Now, I talked about how these two are going to be a little bit different and how I was kind of doing all of this at the same time. So the construction on the inner part of this smaller three drawer piece is a little different than the others. First of all, I went ahead and started putting this one together in that similar style, similar manner where I put the front, the two sides, then I glued these two sides up, let it dry a little bit, and now I can go on to the top and the bottom. Pardon me, the top and the bottom. I think I like this method more because I can dry fit the tops and bottoms in and then cut them as needed, and it's easier to get them in and out. So I may do, I can't believe I'm even saying this, I may do another video in which I just build another piece and show you the one way I would like you to do it. But again, it's all up to you how you want to do this. It's your stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to glue in this top piece. So I'm going to add these glue to these top pieces. And you can see I've added it to where the top of the foam is. The top of the foam. And I'm sorry for things kind of going yellowy. The sun has gone down and my natural light's gone. And I've also added it here to the sides. So I'm making sure I've got enough here on the sides. And making sure that's all in there. And now I'm going to just pop this on the top. Now the one thing I really like about this method is now I can just immediately glue these two down. Especially if the board fits a little better. And I think in this method I'm showing you, I think the board does fit just a tick better. Okay, so now I can press these two down and hold them down pretty confidently because I've already glued the two sides in. I'm not going to crush anything, which I think can sometimes make you not want to press down very hard. So those are in place. Now let's go ahead and add some glue to this top section and get this glued in. Oop, come back here, you. Okay. Oops. And now I can press this down. Now remember, if you want, you can, I don't think there's anything on that one. Let's tear this in half. I can now add a clamp on there if I want to. But before I do any of that, which I don't think I'm going to have to do, I'm going to need to bend these backward a little bit because I really want you to be able to see inside here. So I've got this one support and it's going to go right here. So it's the same size as the side supports. And I'm going to glue it in first. So this is kind of like what I did on the two shelf piece. And then I'm going to glue that in there. Everything's in there so it makes contact. The smallness of this piece allows you to kind of glue everything in as pretty much you can get everything together and glue it in. Now I had realized this was a little bit too big. I mean, seriously, it was like a millimeter too big. So I'm going to do what I normally do because I'm just uncomfortable having it glaringly white. So I just added a little blue paint there. That's another nice thing about these paint markers. They will, they'll adhere to just about any surface, including foam. Okay, so I've put some glue on the foam parts, and I know that I want this foam side going here. So I'm going to be actually putting some glue here, bead of glue, bead of glue, bead of glue. Put that in there, and hopefully I can get this in without too much smushing around. Okay. And now I can come in and grab any excess. I think I'm going to switch this around and grab it this way. Even though I know this will all kind of dry. So now you can see, because this is so small, I've glued it all in and together, and it's sticking together pretty well. I'm going to dry fit this back piece. I think this might be just a little bit too wide. Yeah, it is just a skosh too wide. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut off just a little less than 1 millimeter. Probably 1/2 millimeter. Because remember, you can always cut more off. So there. It fits in pretty well. I'm going to pop that out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add glue here, 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 along the sides, along the top. Da, 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 da. Oops, I don't want that there. And make sure I get it where I want it. Again, this is the reason I use toothpicks, because I can get them where I want the things to go. Okay, that's pretty good. And now were we this way? No, we were this way. I'm gonna pop that right in. And especially now, I mean, it's at this small size, the foam has, it feels like it has more like tensile strength to it now that it's in such a miniaturized form and is not so large. That's going to be a little different when we move on to the piano, which the piano is what we're going to be doing next. So now I've got these in place, and I can fold these over and allow them to dry. I'm going to flip it upside down. Okay, now I'm going to put this over here, put this under something. Here, what's this box right here? And we're going to come back to this piece and these pieces as well. Now, you can see everything's glued together. I've gone through and put a little bit of paint around some of the corner pieces. And I realized, can you see here, this right here is not the right color. It needs to be lavender. Where's my lavender pen? I need the 1 millimeter. So I need to come in here. I know that's a weird detail, but you guys know me. Because of that, for the one that I just glued together, I've made sure that I have colored that piece in a little bit. Now, when it comes to the top here, you can see I've added some color around 3 sides. And if I just lay this down, you can see that it's roughly like 2 millimeters, maybe 2.5 millimeters here. I'm going to take a little bit off this end. And when I say a little bit, I'm going to take about 1 millimeter. Where is my knife? And I shouldn't do it that way. I should do it this way. You know, the reason I should do it this way is because if the cut doesn't look very good, it's less likely to look bad on the front, if that makes any sense. Okay, now I'm going to pop this back in and look and go, you know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like the spacing around here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my paint pen, and I'm going to make sure I've gone around all of these edges, because I want to make sure that I've gone around the edges. Now what we're going to do is these 2 front edges, I want to round them out a little bit. And the easiest way I've found to do that is to simply knock off the corner. Can you see how tiny that is? It's just a little a little triangle. I have found that trying to measure it just makes me nuts. And then what I do is I cut another tiny triangle off. This is the same method that I use to teach pre-K and kindergarten students how to cut out a circle from a square, which, believe me, is not always easy. So now you can see I've rounded this very gently, just with 3 tiny cuts on just the 2 front pieces. Now, if I don't like having the little cut marks, I can very gently come in here and go around them a bit to get rid of some of that. And then come back in with that, or a different color, a slightly darker color. I kind of thought about doing a darker color. You know what? Let's experiment a little bit. Is this that slightly darker color? Which one is it? The light is not fabulous right now, and I already don't tell browns apart very well. I want to see what this will look like, because I think that'll just be just enough differentiation. And as long as I'm not getting, yeah, it's just a tiny bit of differentiation. I could also add color around that if I wanted to. Okay, let's just call that for what it is now. Done. And now you're thinking, how in the heck do I get this to glue onto the top? Well, it's pretty easy. And you can see here, I've still got a little bit of a white line showing up. I want to hit that one more time, and I think I'm actually going to hit it with this color because it is more in line with the strip of what I would call the extra, the secondary wood color than the other pen is. So that way we don't have to worry about that. Now what we're going to do is on this top part, dun, da, 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 here comes the glue, here comes the glue. Da, 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 da. Now remember, you're gluing paper to paper, so this is gonna grab on pretty quickly. Okay. And I'm gonna let it get a little tacky. Remember, tacky glue is already tacky, but then if you let it kind of dry a little bit, it even gets a little bit more tacky. So, give that a second or two. And now, I'm going to lay this down flat, because I already know this is flat. And then I'm going to bring this up underneath, and I'm looking at these 2 side places right here, these sides of where this is going to go. And you know what you're going to do now? You're just going to hold it. Now, because remember, part of this has begun to bow just a little bit. And because I am the person I am, come on. Boy, these caps just don't want to come off. Add a little bit more color there. Because remember, once you add liquid, and glue is a liquid, to paint fibers or paper fibers, they're going to start to warp and swell a little bit. So I'm just going to hold this on for a bit until I feel as though the glue has grabbed hold and it's still moving just a fraction of an inch back and forth. And you can also hold it upside down like this. Now, this is a good time to talk about the legs. Even for the little tiny ones here, because this is only about, oh, good grief, that's not very long at all. That's about 5 millimeters. I'm still going to add legs in. You're going to do them the exact same way as you've done for every single other piece. The same way of putting them in and measuring them, leaving them there to be measured, how you hold it, how you put the draw the pencil line, how you cut it. It's all exactly the same. Now I'm going to set this one aside for a minute. I'm going to come back to this bad boy. And you can see the small one goes together pretty gosh darn quickly. Now, we need to glue on the back for this one. And what I want to stress to you with this is when you're gluing this back portion on, you want to make sure that it covers up most of this little bit right back here on the top, the different color. But you also want to make sure that it's not going over the edges on the top or on the side, because you don't want that to show. In this piece, you can see here, if I hold that up, you can see how that's about 1/2 millimeter too big. And that really bugs me. And you can also see here where I didn't color things in, and that really, really bugs me. So this one looks like it's pretty well fit. So I'm going to put that there. Going to put some glue on. And now I can smooth it out. At least on these portions back here where there's, you know. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more glue to this. I don't think I got quite enough. Like right there. And right in there. Okay, so now with this part on the bottom, I can go ahead and glue this in place. Now, I'm sure that some may be thinking, well, this is going to be up against a wall. And if you don't want to put the wood on the back of it, don't do it. It's your piece. I'm just giving you suggestions. So now I can set this off to dry. I still may clip a little bit off that top because that kind of bugs me. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside. The tops for these pieces are exactly the same as are the backs. Don't glue the top on before you glue the back on. So let's go ahead and try this again and see where everything kind of fits. And make sure, I think this one is just a skosh too long on this side. You can see that tiny little bit. You can get that tiny little bit poking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, remember, flip it over to the front. And I'm going to see where the black line is. I'm just going to trim the rest of that black line off. And I think that should do it. And yeah, it does. Okay, so remember, all we have to do here is add the glue down. Okay. Glue, 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 glue. I used a lot of tacky glue with my students. The reason I would spend extra on tacky glue and Tombow glue sticks when I could get them is because I remembered as a child coming home with pieces that were glued together with mucilage. Yes, God help me. That stuff was terrible. And it never held anything down. Okay, I got this down in the right place. And I hated seeing students' artwork constantly falling apart. So my solution for that was everybody learned how to use tacky glue. And the kids were better with it. It was better, especially when I had a shorter class time. Okay. Now, I purposefully left this bit up here because I want to show you how to get rid of it. But we'll do that in the next video. I'm going to show you here, as I tip everything over. The legs are done exactly the same way. We know that. And remember, when we're doing the cutting for this, I'm going to turn it so that I know where the color portions are. And I'm just going to take on my blade, a nice sharp one. And you don't have to take a ton off of it. I take a nice little triangle off. And there's the other one. And then it's 2 more super skinny triangles. And if you want, practice on something. Practice on a piece of cardboard first. I didn't size this, meaning I didn't put it here, which was kind of a dorky mistake of mine to make. Ooh, that's really big on this front piece, but I'm not going to cut it off this front piece. You know why? Because I've already made those cuts. So what I'm going to do, and again, I kind of eyeball it. Let's do this the right way. Okay, so I've lined this up and I put this down, and you can see the sides are pretty good. That side and that side look pretty good, but this is way too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up as I'm looking down on it to get, I think that looks nicer, which means I need to cut this part off. So to do that, I'm going to cut that off the back and leave these intact. Work smarter, not harder. Now, because of that, and I have to make the line, I do have to cut from the back, which means I'm going to be very relaxed, and I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm going to make a series of passes. I'm not going to try to do it all at once, and I'm going very slow. So that way there's minimal disturbance. There is a little disturbance there, but I think I'm going to do what I did for the previous one. I'm going to use a slightly darker, and now you can see, et voila, it is vanished. Go around these corners, even though I think maybe I can still, no, those aren't too bad. I'm going to leave those alone. So now that that's done, this can be glued onto the top. But I want to make sure too that I've gone over everything around the top or anything that comes close, because I don't want, oh, that's the wrong side. I'm going to use this darker one again. I don't want the white to pop through, and to get up there once I've already used the color here is going to be really, really difficult. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes a lot of sense, because if it doesn't make sense, it's going to make me sad. Okay, and now I can glue that in place. As always, the feet are done the exact same way as I've done for previous feet. I think on these, though, I think I painted some that color, and I'll be gluing those in instead. Okay. We have covered everything with the exception of putting on the drawer pulls. And I have some other stuff I want to show you about drawer pulls. So I think I'm going to do a little short video after this one to show you about doing the drawer pulls, because I want to be able to have you, like, get creative with this. So I'll see you in the next video.